I didn't realize how foggy I'd become. It happened slowly. I'd open my phone to check one thing and emerge 40 minutes later with no memory of what I'd looked at. I'd sit down to think, to write, to be present, and within 30 seconds I'd feel the pull. Just check. Just scroll. Just one more. The worst part wasn't the lost time. It was the quality of my thinking. Ideas felt shallow. I'd start a thought and lose it before it finished. I was technically awake, but I wasn't really there. And then one evening I asked myself a question I'd been avoiding. When was the last time I was genuinely bored? Not restless and reaching for a screen, but actually uncomfortably bored. The kind where your mind has to do something interesting just to survive the quiet? I couldn't remember. That was the moment I decided to do a 7-day dopamine detox. Not because I'm some kind of productivity monk, not because I think technology is evil, but because I missed myself. I missed the version of me that had longer thoughts, that could sit with a problem, that felt genuinely curious about things. And I want to show you exactly what happened and what you can do today to start the same reset. Let's go. First, let's clear up what dopamine actually is. Because most of what you've heard is slightly wrong, and getting it right changes how you think about this whole problem. Dopamine is not a pleasure chemical. That's serotonin. Dopamine is the anticipation chemical. It fires not when you get a reward, but when you expect one. Every time you swipe, you're making a tiny bet. Maybe the next post will be funny. Maybe someone liked your photo. The uncertainty itself is the drug. When you feed your brain hundreds of these micro hits every hour, the brain adapts. It downregulates, produces fewer dopamine receptors, and makes them less sensitive. You need more stimulation to feel the same thing. And suddenly anything that doesn't deliver instant novelty, a book, a walk, a slow conversation, feels almost painful to engage with. This is what people mean when they talk about brain rot. Oxford made it their word of the year in 2024, and by 2026, researchers are publishing genuine concerns about what chronic short-form content consumption is doing to our ability to sustain attention, tolerate boredom, and think in long, connected, original thoughts. I want to be direct about something. This is not a moral failure. You are not weak or lazy or broken. You are a human being with a reward system that evolved over millions of years, up against platforms engineered by some of the smartest people alive, using billions of data points to keep you engaged for one more second. That's not a fair fight. And the first step to winning it is to stop blaming yourself for losing it. So here's what the 7 days actually looked like. I want to be honest with you, because I think most detox content makes it sound either like a dramatic spiritual awakening or like a week of white-knuckled misery. It was neither. It was just a regular week with some deliberate constraints and a lot of noticing. The rules were simple. No social media, no news feeds, no YouTube or streaming I wouldn't choose intentionally, no mindless scrolling of anything. Podcasts were allowed on walks. The goal wasn't silence, it was intentionality. Music was fine. Texting real people, fine. Work was still work. Days 1 and 2 were genuinely uncomfortable. I reached for my phone constantly, not because I needed anything, but out of pure automated habit. I'd pick it up, realize there was nothing to open, and put it back down. That reflex, unconscious, unrequested, was the most revealing thing about the whole week. I wasn't choosing to scroll. I was being pulled. Day 3 was the turning point. The fog started to lift. I noticed I was having longer thoughts with a beginning, a middle, and an end. I finished a book chapter without checking my phone. I had a present conversation with someone where I wasn't thinking about anything else. That felt remarkable. And the fact that it felt remarkable told me something about how bad things had gotten. By day 5, ideas started coming. Not anxious, half-formed thoughts, but slow, connected ones. The kind that feel like they came from somewhere deep and have been waiting for the noise to stop. I found myself reaching for a notebook instead of a phone. Not because I forced it, because there was something worth writing down. Day 7 arrived and I didn't want to go back. Not because I'd become a different person, but because I'd remembered what my own mind felt like when it wasn't constantly reacting to someone else's content. I'd remembered what it was like to be the person generating the thoughts rather than the person consuming them. Here's what the science says about why this works, and why it works faster than most people expect. The brain is neuroplastic. It physically rewires itself based on what you repeatedly do. When you flood the reward system with rapid, high-frequency dopamine hits, the brain adapts by reducing receptor density and sensitivity, the same mechanism behind tolerance in other addictions. You need more to feel the same. But here's the genuinely good news: that process is reversible. And it begins reversing faster than most people realize. Research on dopamine receptor recovery suggests that meaningful recalibration, not complete recovery, but a noticeable, felt shift, can begin in as little as 48 to 72 hours of reduced stimulation. That's why so many people who do even a 3-day detox report feeling clearer, calmer, and more creative by the end of it. The brain moves quickly when you give it the conditions to. Andrew Huberman's research on dopamine regulation points to something important. It's not just the highs that matter, it's the baseline. When you protect your baseline by avoiding constant artificial spikes, activities that used to feel dull, a walk, a conversation, a project you actually care about, start to feel genuinely pleasurable again. Not because they've become more interesting, because your capacity to feel pleasure from them has been restored. There's also strong evidence around the default mode network, the brain's resting state activity, which activates when we're not focused on an external task. This is where we consolidate memories, process emotions, and generate creative connections. Constant stimulation suppresses it. We never actually rest, even when we think we are. Give it space, and what it produces in that space will surprise you. You don't need to do a full 7-day detox to feel a real difference. Here are 5 resets you can start today, without quitting your phone, without becoming a digital hermit, and without white-knuckling your way through willpower. Reset 1. Protect the first 30 minutes. Don't touch your phone for the first 30 minutes after you wake up. This sounds small. It isn't. Your brain is in its most neuroplastic state in the morning. What you feed it first genuinely influences how your dopamine system behaves for the rest of the day. Give it silence, or movement, or a slow coffee, or just a view from a window. Anything before you give it the feed. Reset 2. The phone-free meal. Eat 1 meal a day, just one, without a screen. No phone beside the plate. No video playing, just the food, just the room, and whatever thoughts come naturally. This sounds almost insultingly simple. I know. Try it for 3 days and tell me what comes up. Reset 3. Schedule the boredom. 10 minutes a day of deliberate nothing. No phone, no podcast, no input. Sit. Walk without earphones. Let your mind be uncomfortable. That discomfort is your default mode network activating, doing the processing work that constant stimulation prevents. Reset 4. Add 1 second of friction. Move the apps off your home screen. Disable notifications. You don't have to delete anything, just make scrolling slightly less automatic. That 1 second gap between impulse and action is where your agency lives. Reset 5. Replace, don't just remove. This is the one most people miss. Every time you would normally scroll, have something ready, a book nearby, a notebook open, a short walk already decided on. A detox without replacement is pure willpower, and willpower is definite. A detox with a substitute is a genuine reset, because you're building a new pathway, not just suppressing an old one. I want to tell you what you actually gain from this, because it's not what the productivity world usually promises. It's not about doing more, or being more efficient, or optimizing your output. The clearest sign for me wasn't productivity, it was presence. I started actually finishing conversations, not performing them while thinking about what I'd look at next. I started actually tasting food, actually noticing the walk I was on, actually being in the same room, emotionally, not just physically, with the people I cared about. Creatively, something unlocked. The ideas that had been drowned out by noise started surfacing again. Slow, long, connected thoughts. The kind that only come in the quiet. You don't need to quit your phone forever. You just have to give your brain enough silence to remember what it feels like to actually think. And when you do, something comes back that you didn't realize you'd been missing. So here's the challenge I want to leave you with. Not a week, just one day. Tomorrow, no social media, no news feed, no mindless scrolling, just one day. And in the gaps, instead of reaching for your phone, pause. Notice what thought was about to happen before the reflex kicked in. Notice what you actually feel when you're not running from it. Because the version of you that existed before the constant stimulation, the one with longer thoughts, quieter confidence, and a genuine relationship with your own mind, that person hasn't gone anywhere. They've just been drowned out. Give them one day of quiet. I think you'll be surprised what comes back. If this video gave you something, if any part of it landed, hit subscribe. Every single week on Travel to a Better You, we explore ideas exactly like this one. Small, practical, honest shifts in how you think, how you see yourself, and how you move through the world. I'll see you in the next one.